Dear friends, Vaidhyas, colleagues, and all seekers and students of Ayurveda. Namaskaram. I am V. Vasudevan from AVP, Coimbatore. Please bear with me, first of all, if this presentation or my Ayurveda is slightly different from the academic standards and research standards as well. I believe that Ayurveda should be practiced as Ayurveda so that we can explore the possibilities and also get very good success in its practice. Today, the subject that we are going to discuss is very relevant. That is the role of Ayurveda in the context of modern day Sankramika Roga, like COVID-19. You know, COVID-19, and that is today, it's a pandemic, and people are very much worried world over. Worried about this very devastating conditions of the world. I think we haven't so far seen such a kind of disease, a pandemic disease. There has been many epidemic diseases that we have seen, but a pandemic is slightly different from epidemic. Because epidemic is to certain conditions in certain period and also in some locality. But pandemic is an outbreak. It's widespread occurrence in the community at large, a particular period. So you know that this disease was started about 6 months back. First it started in China, in Wuhan. And slowly it started spreading to different countries and closed the borders and also the continental borders, now world over. And there has been so many things, so many discussions going on about this. And also there are measures and methods to control this disaster. But to a certain extent we are succeeded in it, and still the disease is very prevalent in the society. See, the whole world is worried about it. There's a lot of fear among the people. It's very sad that it's not affecting the health of the people. It's affecting the life of the people, life of the society. Not in one country, in all the countries of the world. See, this is an infectious disease. And Ayurveda, it is called, that the terminology used in Ayurveda for infectious disease is Sankramika Roga. Sankramika Roga. See that there are not many Sankramika Rogas explained in Ayurvedic scriptures. But of course there are many, not a few. But it appears to be the mentioning of a few diseases, but not, because the Ayurvedic scriptures mentioned it in a few shlokas, but it covers an envelope that lot many diseases in one category. So it has been made like that. This categorization has been done in such a way. So this is Ayurveda also mentions about it. So people normally ask when there is a new disease or something, is there a medicine for Ayurveda? Or is an approach, the right approach in Ayurveda to this particular condition? Of course, in every disease there is a method to approach in Ayurveda. That is the speciality of it. That is the identity of Ayurveda. That Ayurveda can attend all kinds of situations. But many of the things are not given directly in the scriptures. Some of them may be hidden, and some of them may be you can have an indirect approach towards it. But I think that Ayurveda is not missing anything. It doesn't. You can't say that this treatment or this medicine is not mentioned in Ayurveda. Ayurveda actually did not mention about many diseases. Ayurveda mentioned about the conditions, the various conditions of disease, and named some of them as Jara, Rakta, or something like that. But each and every disease is not named in Ayurveda. But we have a method to approach. So most of the things are hidden, and you need to explore. For that, an in-depth knowledge and study of Ayurveda is very essential. So with regard to this disease, COVID-19, so this has affecting in a high proportion of population. It has been a worldwide outbreak today. What is this? The most serious pandemic outbreak that killed lakhs of people in the world. And also millions of people got sick in the last 6 months. The modern medicine says, or Western medicine say that COVID-19 is a kind of virus, coronavirus. Coronavirus is not something new, but this COVID-19 is something that has been founded very recently. It's a kind of virus spreading from one person to the other, rapidly due to physical contact. And this particular virus is undetectable, and it is a microorganism fostering into human cells like parasites and destroying rapidly and leading to even death. So it is a disease which is what you call fatal, that Atyega, that is the word used in Ayurveda. Atyega. Atyega is that causes immediate death. So this virus can't be detected. That is the fact. Because it is such a minute organism. And this will survive only in a living organism or cells. It won't survive in the air. It can't survive, or it cannot live in the air or in the atmosphere unless it has something to depend upon. So it enters in the human body, human cells. Once it enters, then it starts working in it and start destroying in the entire system. But how can we see that in the body, how it enters? And how do we detect the same thing? That's very interesting. When it is subtle and when it is a very microorganism and when it is undetectable and invisible, How do we detect? So you should have some reliable method or reliable testing for that. Unless the testing is not reliable, unless the testing is reliable, you won't be able to detect it properly. So it is said today that it is not entering through a respiration or breathing. So how do we see that in Ayurveda if it is not entering through the breathing into the body? See, it has the media of transmission, like saliva or sputum, like that. Through some media, it enters into the body. It is said it cannot enter through the air, so not through the breathing. But the interesting thing that if it is through saliva or sputum or something else, these things are carried inside the body through the vayu or so this thing is carried inside the body through the vayu, and that is underlying principle of Ayurveda. Ayurveda believes that there is no movement, there is no functioning without the support of air. So air or vayu is the motivating agent, and it is for all kinds of functioning inside and outside. So that is why in Ayurveda you don't have a treatment for vata actually, I would say like that. Or you could say that all kinds of treatment is for the treatment of vata, because vata is the chief among the doshas. Vayu evahi doshanam neta. The chief among the doshas is vata or vayu. Because vayu cannot be treated, the reason is vayu is for vata is jala. It is mobile. It is always moving from one to the place to the other. Very unstable. So due to this instability of vayu or vata, it cannot be treated. Still we are doing it, and that is a chief, and that is one thing which has to be attended well. So how do we do that? We do that controlling and regulating the other two doshas, kapha and pitta. So even any condition, even in a vata condition, our approach is in the beginning to regulate and control the kapha and pitta, by which vata is also getting controlled and balanced. And disease is a kind of abnormality, an abnormal functioning, and this functioning is happening due to the vata because that is the only agent, motivating agent for functional agent. So this vata is the chief because every disease is a functional derangement. The function is proper, you won't get any kind of disease. A functional derangement is the disease. So the prominent dosha in every kind of disease is vata. And it is very difficult to approach it directly. And that is the difficult thing in the Ayurvedic treatment. Not in Ayurvedic treatment, that is the entire system of human body. So Ayurveda believes that a carrier is always vayu. Unless you breathe, this would not enter in your body. No question of whether it is in the sputum or the saliva or wherever it is, because these are the media that enters into the body with the support of the air, which is motivating agent for the function. So two things are very important for me. That is, if there is a virus, it is an external substance. This external substance is entering into the body and makes you sick. So in no way it is your dosha kapha or a derangement that happening in your system due to the nija causes or ahara vihara. There is an external cause, And that external cause is called agantu. So the question is, what is virus? Is there a mention about virus in the Ayurvedic scriptures? Ayurvedic scriptures, you have the mentioning about everything. Maybe it's a different interpretation, but Ayurveda scriptures speak about the infectious diseases and how the infection happens, but totally a different interpretation. So you need not worry about that if the interpretation is in a different way. So once it is outside or agantu, the agantu renmedi nijam vikar, the agantu itself becoming nijam. That due to an agantu, an external cause in the body, the doshas are getting vitiated. So agantu, first, though it is first in agantu, later it becomes nija. So once it is nija, the treatment is not for the virus. You can't treat the virus. How can you kill the virus in the whole world? It is there in your environment. You cannot stop it. In one form or the other, there are many and thousands of millions of viruses all the time, bacteria and fungus. And you know that bacteria infection is there, fungal infection is there, virus infection. It's always happening. We are surviving in an environment that is conducive to our living conditions. And we are dependent of this environment. When the environment is polluted, your body also getting polluted. So some environmental pollution is there. That's happening. That's why the body is also getting polluted. Once the body is getting polluted, then you get sick. What happens when this, or how this environment is getting polluted? These kind of explanations are there very much into the script. See, so far there is no medicine that has been discovered as a vaccine or confirmed medication. So it is very complicated. Why this medicine is not yet found out? We need to think about it. Why there is no medicine for that? There are many reasons for that. First thing is that this disease is something new to us. This is first time that we are experiencing such a virus pandemic. So we have no idea about how to approach, how to manifest, and what are the symptoms, and what would happen. That's the one thing. And secondly, this is an anti-etiology that causing immediate death. So you don't have much time left to attend. It's like visha or poison. When there is a snake bite, then immediately you have to attend it, and you need medicines of that power and potency to attend. Then medicine should have a prabhava. Once it is having the prabhava, it immediately acts and stop your poison that entering into the dhatus and also in the air. So Vishaveda Param Vedam. So your medicines that used in Visha should have the power to reach out the entire body and also defend. So such kind of medicines you need actually in diseases like this, which are active. So I think that in almost every Aptega kind of disease, there should be something toxic. There should be something that is vicious. There should be something that is poisonous. So there must be some poisonous effect in the atmosphere, in the environment, and that could be the virus. You call it virus. And that could be the reason for this uh, uh, death of immediate death in this condition. So some kind of toxic effect is there. That's why I said the environmental pollution. See, and we believe that there is no virus mentioned in Ayurveda as such. That is true. There is no virus as such. But it is there in a different name that Manushyobhadravakarina Sukshma Ganavisheshaha Bhutaha. Manushyobhadravakarina Sukshma Ganavisheshaha Bhutaha. Manushyobhadravakarina, that causing kind of disturbance to human beings. Sukshma, subtle or invisible. Ganavisheshaha, special category of being, is called Bhuta or Anubhuta. This is not actually from any of these Ayurvedic scriptures. This reference is from the Ayurveda. In the Ayurveda, there is mention about the Sukshma Anu or Bhuta, so that in Ayurveda we should bring it into the category of Bhutas or Bhutavesha. I have more references to you to prove it, but I am coming to that point later on. And other thing that is more complicated because the symptoms appearing here are not fixed syndrome. When it is something fixed, then you can easily attend and have a single medicine for particular disease, this particular disease. It's not happening because you have different types of symptoms, variety of symptoms in this disease. So for each condition, each symptom, a single medicine would not help. That is another reason. So Ayurveda is perfect in that you can have the conditions and Ayurvedic treatment is according to the conditions of the patient, not just a medicine, a single medicine for a particular disease. So the Ayurvedic approach is very suitable in this condition. But we have again the problems that we have to face in it. Because if it is a single medicine and easy to handle it, easy to use, then of course you can accept it and recognize and start using it. Here the problem is that each and every patient you need to diagnose and identify the sickness and also the conditions. Accordingly, you need to give the medicines. So in that condition, each patient is separate. Just a COVID test is not enough. I have some contact with some people who had COVID. Yesterday, someone called me from Ahmedabad. And to that patient, that person, that COVID was tested and found positive. It happened one week before. This patient had a stomach issue, some acidity. So this patient went to a doctor, a local doctor there, and he had given some medicines prescription and started taking it. After 1 week, the patient again went to this. doctor, and doctor asked her to take a COVID test. She was all right. She was perfect. Then what happened, that after COVID test it found positive. And she called me that and asked what can I do. I said if it is positive, and she has no other symptoms, no fever, no cough, no fever, nothing else. So I was wondering how this is happening. I don't know actually, because we haven't seen people. There is no point in explaining too much about it. The reason is, so far we haven't treated, so far we haven't seen and not developed or kind of medicines for that separately. So it is all some kind of enmity, that is some inference that with the available information that like the symptoms that are appearing from the model diagnosis. Based on that, we are coming to this disease and also trying to find out or diagnose it the Ayurvedic method. So, and then another experience that one of my students was my yoga student who is in Dubai and he is working there. He called a few days back. Then he told me that his test was positive. He had just a slight cough and fever. That time the test was done. Because it was compulsory in the office, in the company to do that. So the test was done. It was positive. And after 2-3 days he called me. Then I asked, how are you feeling? He said, I'm fine. I'm doing my yoga regularly and also my normal diet. I don't feel tired. And after a few days that became normal. So like that many experiences that I had, and also someone asked and someone recovered with some home remedies. So there are cases also like that, a mild attack. That is one part of it. On the other side, there is a severe attack, very intense. And in that case, the death occurs. So like that, there are a variety of symptoms and variety of manifestations on which you cannot approach with a single idea or single meditation. So this is really a problem not only in Ayurveda, in the other systems also. Because in Ayurveda, when you give or prescribe medication, you will have many medicines in it, because depending on the conditions. So you don't have a medicine, a single medicine for that, and don't try an alternative for that for particular disease. Because you are treating a complex situation, a complex health situation. But to that complex health situation, there should be a particular formula to balance it. Because the body system itself is very complex. So an alternative will not help in that. So you need to, more than medicine, you approach with a particular idea of treatment. Once it is treatment, it is a procedure. In that procedure, medicines just fitting into. So we should not approach any disease with an idea of medicine first. That is not Ayurveda. In the Western system, of course, we have a name of a disease, a particular condition for which we give this particular medicine. And that is a social medicine that everyone is given. But in Ayurveda, it's not like that. There is an individual attention. And not an individual attention. If you go to different Vaidyas and treat it in a different way. Because you have your choices. So there is no point in asking whether you have a medicine for that. The reason is Ayurveda has enough medicine. Everything is medicine in Ayurveda. Jagatyevam anaushadha. There is nothing in this world not having the medicinal power. So we have the medicines, no doubt in that. We got the approach, no doubt in that. And we got an approach in the virus, no doubt in that. But the thing is, how, why? How can we do that? Yes, of course, we have the medicine. What combination you give? What are the medicines that you give? And depending on the condition, how do you apply? So that you that is most important. Ayurvedic treatment. So it is not very practical to reach out our medicines to millions of people who are suffering. When we use these traditional medicines, the different combinations, how much you can produce this kashayam or an Induganta kashayam or an Amalotharam kashayam? We have a limit, but we cannot attend thousands of people. But it's not just, if it is just one medicine, of course you can. But when it is millions and trillions of people suffering, how can you reach out? It is not. So even if we have medicine for that, how to reach out is the question. So we cannot just ignore telling that we don't have the idea of virus magic. Though I was not speaking in that terminology, we have it, as I told you earlier, that Manishyobudravakarinaha Sushma Ganavishesha Anubhuta. So we brought this idea in the category of Sankramika Roga. What is Sankramika? In the Sushruta Samhita, Kushtaroga Chikitsa, Kushtaroga Nidana, the last sloka. That is very familiar because this is taught in the colleges also. People know it very well. Sankramika Roga. Sankramanti Narat Naram. Sankramanti Narat Naram. From one person to the other. This is transmitted. How this is transmitted from one person to the other? Prasanga Gatra Sansparshat Nishwasal Sahabhojanat Sahasayasana Chapi Vastramalya Anulepanat Kushtam Jurasta Shoshasya Netrabhishyandayevaya Aupasargike Rogamsta Sankramanti Narat Narat. It's like that. Sankramika Roga or infectious disease. Prasangal Gatra Sansparshal. What is mentioned there? Physical contact. Physical contact, Gatra Sansparshal. That is Prasanga. Prasanga means repeated again and again. You get in contact or personal contact or physical contact with somebody. Nishwasat, we cannot ignore that. Nishwasat, Shwasa, breathing. Sahabhojanat, taking food together. Sahasaya, sleeping together. Asanal chapi, saha asanal, sitting together. Vastra malya anlepanal, using the vastra, clothes, dresses. Others, malya and also ornaments. Anulepanal and also lepana dravyas. What are used by others. So these are the things mentioned. Kushtam, Jarascha, Shosha. Also diseases are mentioned. Kushta Roga, Jara Roga, Shosha Roga, Netra Vishyanta. Doesn't mean that all types of kushtas are infectious. Some of them. Take Jara. All Jara is not infectious. There are some. Shosha. In Shosha also there are some, not all. Netratisha. These are the kind of diseases that are spreading from one person to the other. Then Aupasargika Roga. Aupasargika Roga. Upasarga. Sankramanti Narat. Spreading from one person to the other. What is Aupasargika? What is Sankramika? And what are the difference between these two? Sankramika is infectious, that is spreading from one person to the other. Aupasargika. So all Aupasargika Rogas are Sankramika, but all Sankramika Rogas are not Aupasargika. So there is a difference between Sankramika and Aupasargika. Sankramika is that which is spreading by physical contact. Aupasargika is also spreading by physical contact. But all Sankramikas are not Aupasargika. But all Aupasargika are Sankramika. What does it mean? Aupasarga or Upasarga. So far, or there is a belief that Upasargika Rogas are Manasika Rogas. It's not. There are also Sharirika Rogas or physical ailments that are coming under the category of Upasargika. Not only Manasika or not only Bhutas. What does it mean, Upasarga? The word Upasarga means bath. There is one chapter in Sushruta Samhita which is detailing about it, in which Dalhana had given the commentary of the word Upasarga as Bhatha or Bhuta Aves. But the diseases mentioned are very interesting. Dalhana says that Upasargika Rogas like Masurika, Shitalika, etc. Masurika is not a Manasika Roga. Shitalika is not a Manasika Roga. You have the disease like smallpox, chickenpox, right? And many other diseases are coming into this category. They are physical diseases. Sharirya Adhisthana Vyadi. The diseases are originating in the physical system. And where the doshas are involved in physical conditions than in manasika dimension. And on the other side, you have the diseases that are manovishishta. So in Upasargika, you have the two categories. One is physical and other is mental. So, Pidita Jana Samipa Upasarga Jorataya. So, what is Upasarga? Upa and Sarga. Upa means something near or something associated. And Sarga is something created, something newly created. So this is a kind of disease which is newly created in a particular condition or that enters into the system and causing disturbance. That is called Upasarga. So Joradaya Pidita. Jara is also Upasarga. So Jara can also spread from one person to other. So in COVID-19 we have seen that Jara is the main symptom. Fever is there. The fever is spreading from one person to another. So Jara is most prominent in it. And this is happening, the Jara is happening by an external cause. And we believe that it is a virus. And this virus is coming into the body and causing Jara. So here what is said is Vidita Jana Samipa Utpanna Upasargaja. There are certain people who are already infected. And when you are in touch with those people, you are also getting this infection through the death or through some other that enters in the body and you are getting sick. So if someone is having Jara, you are also getting Jara. And that also coming into your body and spreading from one person to another. It doesn't mean that all kinds of Jara. See, there is one category of Jara which is called Agantu. Agantuga Jara. So in our scriptures you can find that in Sushruta and Charaka there is mention about Agantuga Jara. In Agantuga Jara, Charaka says that Vrishabhittanila Sparsha. He has mentioned 4 types of Agantuga Jara. Abhighata, Abhishanga, Abhichara, Abhishapa. So those 3 are that Abhishanga, Abhichara and Abhishapa. They are opposite. Abhishanga is again of 2. One is Manasika and other is Sharirika. In the Sharirika, it is mentioned Visha, Vayu, Anila, Sparsha. It is due to the touch or in contact of Visha, Vayu or Visha, Vriksha. So anything that is poisonous outside, that coming into your system. So I told you earlier that when something is causing an immediate death, then you should infer that there must be something toxic or poisonous in it. And Jara is the main symptom here. And people are dying with Jara. And this Jara is entering in contact. So that means there is some kind of toxicity in that Jara, which is mentioned as Vishama Jara in Charaka Samhita. Vrishabhittanila Sparsha. Poisonous or toxic effect of some kind of plants or trees or water or air. These are the external causes. And similar kind of things are explained in the Janavaduttamsriya also. So when it is pandemic, definitely it is Janavaduttamsana. No doubt in that. Many people have died. So there is a kind of Uddhamsana of the Janavaduttamsana. So Janavaduttamsana could be of 2 ways. One is epidemic and other is pandemic. Epidemic in the sense that it is in a limited circle, limited society, limited number of people for a limited period. And when it is pandemic, it is spreading over. There is no control. And we could not control so far in the last 6 months. So that is spreading like anything. So how can you treat the infection? You cannot treat the infection, but you can protect and you can save yourself. And that is what we can do. So this is coming under the category of Jara, Vishama Jara, and that is Abhishangada Jara. And you need to give the treatment in that for Visha and Jara as well. The same thing Sushruta says for Abhishangada Jara, Bhudabhishanga. There is one category which is called Bhudabhishanga Jara. That means Even if physical diseases lecture, you got the influence of the Buddhas. Our understanding is Bhutavesha or Bhutas are living Manasika Rogas. It is not. Even in physical disease, because they are interdependent. Body and mind are interdependent. One is depending on the other. And if your mind is afflicted with thoughts, then there will be the reflection of that in your body, and body feels unwell. The same kind of thing when your body is not well, that your mind is disturbed. And they are interdependent. One is depending on the other. Like that, your human body is depending the environment, the atmosphere. So always we have the influence of the Bhutas, influence of the Grahas, influence of the sun, influence of the moon, influence of the planets, influence of the air, influence of the gold, influence of thought. We are influenced by all around. That's why we survive. Otherwise, we cannot survive. A human being is not different or isolated from the environment. So you are part of that. A human being is akin to the nature. So nature protects you because you are very similar to the nature, and nature protects. If you destroy the nature, then nature cannot protect you. So when there is something destroyed, all of a sudden, a spontaneous outbreak that has happened, it means that there is something wrong. It's a kind of destruction, a total destruction that happened in the world. What is destruction? Destruction is kind of samhara. What is samhara? World samhara. Samhara is due to sin, kind of papa. So it is very clearly mentioned that Sankramika Roga is due to papa karma or sinful deeds committed in the past because it is grouped into Adi Devika Roga. So there is such a kind of classification in Ayurveda, especially in the Sushruta Sampradaya, that there are three types of diseases: Adhyatmika, Adibhaudika, and Adivedica. Adhyatmika diseases are due to your dosha kopa, subject to your living conditions. Adibhaudika is some causes outside the Bhutas that cause problems to you. And Adidaivika, that is unknown. There is an unknown cause. When it is unknown, you say that it is a karma. And we believe that Purva Janma Kritam Papam Vyati Rupena. So, you are supposed to get the result of your actions. If you want to be healthy, you have to live accordingly. If you are not living in a good, healthy conditions and not following the diet, not following a routine, then you get sick. So it depends on what karma that you are doing. So if you do bad karmas, you get bad results. If you do good karma, you get good results. No doubt in that. So this is what Ayurveda says. So, see, you get sick because of your bad karma. So depending on that. So if there is a outbreak and a big tragic thing happening, it must have something behind it. Everything is predetermined, not something happening accidentally. That you know very well from our Ayurvedic scriptures mentioned. Even an accident is something predetermined, not something happening incidentally. So everything will have a cause and effect. There is no effect without cause. So in that way, we are living in the world, in an environment which is conducive to us, and the environment that nature itself protecting us, and we should protect ourselves. And if this environment getting polluted, that pollutes your system. So you cannot survive and you cannot cope. This is the thing happening. That's why people are getting sick. So see that there are three things in it. That in the environment, those things are very close to you or proximate to you are sun, moon, and air. On the earth, the same three things are there: fire, water, and air. The human body, the same three things are there in a different form: kapha, pitta. So we are living on earth. We are living in this environment, which is very similar or conducive to our living conditions. If something like derangement happening outside, the same thing will happen inside. This is so there is a kind of outbreak because there is an environmental pollution in the Janavadottam area is very clearly mentioned. What is that? Vayu, Jalam, Desam, Kala. These are the four. Vayu, air. The air that you breathe. When the air is polluted, your prana is also getting polluted. So in the whole system, this prana start moving. A polluted air. Quite Visha Sadrisha, similar to Visha poison. That's start functioning. When the water is contaminated, then the same thing happening to your system. That is, you get clay. Then Kala, the time, the Ritu with the year, the seasonal variations or changes that will definitely affect your system. And Desha, and also the place, the earth, that also goes into the system. So how can we be healthy? How can we prevent it? It is prevention of diseases, not prevention of virus. Okay, there is virus in the atmosphere. It is there. It should not happen. There are a lot of people, millions of people affected, but there are trillions of people who are not affected. Okay. So what we can do for that? A perfect living condition. That's most important. That is, there are a lot of things in a perfect living condition. We have the Swastha. It very clearly says what kind of food that is good for health. Hitahara, Mitahara, and also the methods and types of how we have to take it in which combination, all this. And also breathing, that helps a lot. If you want to correct your breathing, you need to do the yoga. That I would say like pranayama. There are different types of pranayama for which you can correct your breathing. You can feel it. And also feel how the prana moves into the system and how the prana is setting more functions in the system. It is a kind of practice of breathing. Then the food and also the sleep is very important. How many hours that you sleep. The thing is that there are two things in it. One is the positivity and the other is negativity. Two things are always there. If you are more close to the negativity, then you get sick. If you are more positive, then you get health. So if you have a negative approach to the environment, then you easily get sick. If you have positive approach to the environment, then you get health. So that means you need to tune yourself according to the nature. And that tuning is actually the Swasthavata and other Charias. You don't know how to tune yourself for your well-being, for your health. You learn it from the scriptures, how to live, and what are the things required for that. So in that, like you are tuning your television, you tune yourself to the nature. So you get the balance and you cope up with the nature. So I would say that Ayurvedic lifestyle is the best in that for prevention. The thing is that it is very much aligned to the nature or the environment. So a human being is part of the nature, so you can easily make it. So I would say that the best thing is following lifestyle, the Ayurvedic lifestyle. Ayurvedic lifestyle is a lifestyle which is very, close to the nature and understanding the nature and tuning yourself to the nature. That is interesting. So this is a kind of disease according to Ayurveda, Adi Daimika, which is the Upasarga or Upasargika Roga, in which there is again a category that is Devadi Rohaka Jana Samparka Jaya. Devadi Rohaka Jana Samparka Jaya. So, see, some kind of bhutas or bhuta avesha is also happening. It could happen in the Janavadottam Samhita, and also diseases like that are causing immediate death like COVID-19. So I would say that the treatment idea of this would be a treatment procedure to be followed in a Visha Janya Jwara Chikitsa. So this virus is entering into the system, and you know that the different kinds of symptoms are appearing, and there are mild symptoms and also very severe symptoms. In the mild symptoms, there is fever, loss of appetite, fatigue, sore throat, loss of smell, short breath, cough with the sputum, muscle aching, nausea, headache, diarrhea. How do you able to attend all these different kinds of things? That's on one side. And the other side, you have walking difficulty, confusion, bluish lip and face, coughing up blood, and persistent chest pain, decreased white blood cells, kidney failure, high fever, loss of speech, and many. So in all conditions, you have the test which is positive. So this Anubhatha is first entering into the system through your breathing. Once it is going into your breathing to the system, then it is first infecting the lungs. That's why many people are getting such kind of symptoms. There is problem with the breathing. That is one of the symptoms. Because it is first infecting the lungs. From there, the infection goes to stomach. So this kind of doshakopa, let us think about the doshakopa. It is said earlier that this virus cannot survive in air. It has to have something to depend upon through which it enters into the system. See, we have the Panchbhutas here. So it cannot survive in the air. So it also cannot survive in the fire. It cannot also survive in the akasha or the ether. It can survive, or it can survive only in certain substance. So some murta substance. So in the body, in the Panchbhutas, then you have other two. One is Prithvi and other is Vata. So these two things together is the Kapha dosha. So in the body, this is first disrupting your Kapha in the system. So it happens to people who are having Kleda in the system. That is when these two are together and aggravated. That is Prithvi and up together. That is Kapha. And when the Kapha is aggravated in a human body, then it is called Kleda. So this infection is happening to the person who has Kleda in the system. So to prevent that, you should first think about, or you need to clean your system and remove the Kleda from your system, or remove the Kapha from your system. This is the first thing. Then there are less chances to get the infection. So almost every infection is there to the Kapha. So when it is in the lungs, there also the Kapha is. And after that, when it is coming to the stomach, there is also the Kapha. So in the Jara Samprapti, it is like that. So what happens? The Agni totally disrupted, and there is Shitavesha in the stomach. So a ama takes place in the system, and this ama is spreading to the dhatus, and finally coming to the Tatra Prakupito Kapha or Vayu, Paktisthana Dushmanam Behirnirasya, Rasadhanam Anyavetya. So like there is a kind of samprapti. So there is a kind of Jara samprapti. And this finally coming to the skin, and you feel and you get sick and your temperature is down. So there is exactly a Jara samprapti. This Jara samprapti is taking place to a person whose body, the Kleda, is already there. And also this condition around or your environment is also something to generate it. So your Kapha is again increased and vitiated. So such a kind of samprapti is happening, as of my knowledge so far, in this particular disease. And then it is spread. So there is a kind of, I told you earlier, that we need to consider the bhutas. Because there is one chapter in Sushruta which is dealing with kind of bhutas. So the word upasarga means batha. Batha in the sense, this is the batha of something that is external. So you need not worry about this. It's the kind of interpretation that virus is a different kind of interpretation. And then in Ayurveda, it is called bhuta. But bhuta is not just as mentioned, there are 8 different types of bhutas explained. Like Deva Bhuta, Deva Griha, Asura Griha, Hidden Griha, Yaksha Griha, Gansura Griha. But these are not entering into the system at all. It is very clearly mentioned that these things are not at all entering into the system. You will have the reflections or influence of this. See, when you have an influence of a star or a planet, there is an influence of a favorable, particular Griha is favorable for you, the Jupiter is favorable, or Sun is favorable. It doesn't mean that the Sun is inside the body, or the Jupiter is coming inside the body. You will have the influence of that particular planet. In the same way, it is said that there are infinite number of bhutas in anu form that can enter in the body at any time. There is no much explanation about it because they are invisible, adrishya. So those things are invisible. So you have the influence of that. Like chayavako darpana suryakanto. The adushayanta purushasya dekam Bhuradaya Susra Guna Prakavehi Vishanti Adrishyaha Tarasa Yatheva Chayatapo Darpana Surya. So when you look into the mirror, you see your image, and that is getting reflected. Similarly, in a Suryakanta stone, that the sun is getting reflected. There is an influence of that. See, when you go near to the fire, but you are not entering into the fire, but the fire is influencing you, and you are in contact with that. So you get the heat. From the heat, you feel that you are near to the fire. So the fire is in that way influencing. In the summer, your body is hot because of the influence of the sun. And when you go to Himalayas, then you have the cold because you have the influence of the snow, and that is influence. So this is not something that physically coming inside the body. It is very clearly said these bhutas are not entering, or these grahas are not entering into any body, and it cannot enter also. It cannot enter into any system. And it's there are many other that bhutas in different forms, and they are the servants or associates of the Graha. These bhutas are ananta, infinite number. These bhutas are really entering and causing problems. So whatever it may be, the bhutas or the virus or whatever, once it is inside the body, you get sick, and that sickness is due to dosha. So you need to attend the dosha kupai, and if it is due to some kind of karmas, then you need to do the Daiva Vyapasraya Chikitsa. So wherever required, the Daiva Vyapasraya Chikitsa is also to be. So the main thing is that the medicine that is given or the treatment that is given is basically for the dosha. So you know that even in Jura, not only in Jura, even in Mansika Rogas like Apasmara and Umada, we know that the influence of the Tejas and Tamas and other Manasika doshas are there. But the treatment is not given to the Tejas and Tamas. The treatment is given basically to the Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And also it is explained in such a way that you have the Kapha, Unmada, Pitta Unmada, Vata Unmada, or Anuti Unmada. And whatever it may be, the treatment is based on the doshas. And even in a condition where the Bhutavesha, the entry of other spirits, is there, you need to attend the doshas. Because inside the body, the doshas are getting initiated, and there is a derangement of doshas. No question of whatever the influence or whatever the cause. So it doesn't matter what's the cause. It is matters what's the effect. So effect you attend at the same time, Nidana Parivartana, and have to stop the causes repeating again. If the causes are stopped, the repetition of the causes stopped, then you can get rid of it. So Ayurveda has two aspects in the treatment. One is that the aspect where this disease is manifested or projected. The other aspect is from where it is originated. There are two things. Inside the body. See, for example, I will tell you that in the case of Tamaka Shwasa, there is one kind of Shwasa Roga, that is Tamaka or bronchial asthma. In that, now normally we consider it as a respiratory disorder or the problem with the lungs that you cannot breathe. So you need to develop the lung capacity. But there is no definite medicine or confirmed medicine for that of the treatment procedures. You can just manage it by giving medicines. But in Ayurveda, it is in a different way. That the disease is manifesting, of course, there in the lungs. But there is another root. There is a source of it from which this uh, respiratory diseases are occurring. So what is that root? The root also root. It is said that Kaphavadalpakyahyevo Vittasthana Samudbhava. So the Udbhava, the origin of the disease is from Vittasthana or Amasya. So Amasya is the root. There, some kind of indigestion taking place, and Ama is produced. And lot of Kapha is produced, and this Kapha is coming to the Sthana, which is Uras and the lungs, and getting bloated. That's why you are getting sick, because your lungs cannot expand and contract when you breathe, because it is completely covered with the Kapha. So the Kapha to be removed. So they are giving medicines in the allopathic system to dilate the lungs and improve the capacity of the lungs. Of course, you can improve, but after certain stages, that it loses its power, elasticity. Like an elastic that you pull several times and loses its temper. Like that, your lungs muscles lose the temper. This is then with any medicine that it won't work. But in Ayurveda, we believe that it is not in that way. Basically, it is your Agni mantra. So the treatment is given to the Agni, and the treatment is village. Samagetu village. It's very interesting because the doshas are kapha, combination of kapha and vata. The treatment of kapha is vana. The treatment of vata is vasti. So this is a combination of kapha and vata. But here the treatment is village. In certain conditions, even the sthana is very important, where the disease is localized or where is the root of the disease. That area is also attended. But in this case, it is amasya or patisthana. So mrudu vamana is there, and also virechana is the main treatment. So once you do the virechana and clear your bowels and reduce the kapha in the system, then you won't get it. So you can have a complete cure. Because this kapha is not at all produced, your Agni is good, kapha is not produced, it is not moving from the stomach to the so completely you can. So in that way, when you examine a patient with this tools like pratiksha and sparshana and also darshana, sparshana and prashna. It's not just the understanding of the sickness externally, it's the whole body, the understanding of the whole system, and also the basic root from where it manifests. Then you connect. Then you are samprapti. Actually, the samprapti is a disease. And we need to know the samprapti. This samprapti you cannot find out with any kind of lab investigation. How do you know that in Tamakashwasa, by taking an X-ray of your chest, how do you know that this is basically rooted in your amasya? But when you see the patient with conversation, prashna, and also darshana, and nadi pariksha, and so many other, you come to that point that there is a dosha kopa, the problem is with the stomach. So we need to use our tools properly. Then we will get it. So there are two patala, that is two different realms. One is the source, the root, and other is the area where it is manifest. So the process of dosha kopa from the root to the manifest area is called samprapti, and that is sickness, and that's called disease in Ayurveda. So this disease you cannot find because this is happening inside. And this is a subtle derangement which you cannot find, is not seen at all. When there is a fever, you touch the body and understand there is a temperature. But that temperature is not the fever according to Ayurveda. Ayurveda, that samprapti is the fever. Dosha gopa from your stomach to your skin. That process of manifestation called samprapti, and we are attending that process of manifestation and going against it. So this same thing to be applied in every kind of disease. So one may not be the other, and one system may not fit to the other, or one medicine will not be fitting to the other person. For each person to be considered separately. So this is not easy in a pandemic like this, that you cannot reach out. That's the only thing. You have medicine, but you cannot reach out. So in that way, so how to do that and how to do the distancing of that? And in our Shastra also it is mentioned how to do it. That Vishahareva Agadehi Vilipya. We are now today we are using that wearing mask and social distancing is recommended, and we are using the sanitizer, immune booster is there, hygienic conditions are there, everything is there. These are the things that we are now using for our protection and as precautionary measures. See, in Ayurveda, in the beginning itself, it is not in the that Swastagata. Nasamurda Mukhat Kuriyal Chudi Hasya Vijramukha. Chudi Hasya Vijramukha. Chudi is sneezing. Hasya is laughing. Vijramukha, yawning. One should not perform any of this or all of them without closing your mouth. So once you close it and do it, there is no chance of any infection. So it is a kind of protection which is already given in our scriptures. Na asambala mukhat kuriyal shruti asya vijramukha. And also the body to be protected in a different way. That is vishahareva agadehi vilipya. Vati vijitranya vivadaye. Then this infection won't occur. What are they? Vishahareva agadehi. Agadam, some kind of herbs or the kind of medicines that you need to apply or smear on your system like Chandana, Aguru, Vishira, Vacha, Devadari. These kind of things you can apply on your body. Then, Vadyasya Sabdena Yadi Nasham Vishani Khoranya Viyanisam. Vadya, drumming. Drumming is good. Clapping is good. Lighting of lamp is good. So that this one. So that's why in these conditions is kind of homa, kind of ties all this distancing the impurities, distancing the pollution, distancing all evils. So it is good if you do the dhupa, the karpura, chandana, these are good for distancing. So even closing your mouth and sneezing is good. That is self-protection. He is there in our Sastavata. He is there in our Satpurata. So there are so many things explained in Ayurveda which we never look into at this point of view. So, Vadyasya Shabdena hi yadi nasham vishani khorani vijanisam. Even very serious poison would not occur and disturb you if you make Vadya Kosha or drumming or clapping. So that is something, And the main reason for everything is asamyak achamanena ashaucha. Sushita says that this kind of virus or this kind of dhodavesha is happening in the system due to asamyak shaucha. Not being clean. In unclean or unhygienic conditions, these things would enter into your body. That's why we always say that after taking food, you have to clean your mouth. Then after evacuation, you have to clean the orifices, and you have to take bath every day. These are distancing impurities. And also in general that you need not touch and contact people. And there are a lot of, all kinds of bacteria that's everywhere. and get dressed and everywhere. Then unhygienic situation. So the social distancing is actually good, and that is what Ayurveda said in this Sankramika that Prasangalga Prasangarsha. So from it is very clear that you should not be very close contact with people. When it is close, said that you should not be very close contact with people, it means that you should keep social distance. So social distancing is there, and also individual distancing is there, not from public, also personal. Even the personal contact should not be there too much of. And so once you keep away from all this, that you get a kind of protection. This is possible. That even in Tantra Shastra it is there, that kind of protection. When you meditate, there is a kind of protection. There is a kind of energy field that is being created around you when you meditate. When you do a yajna or homa, then there is a kind of valaya around you that protects you, surrounded by you. But these things are not known to us, and these things are invisible, and then we don't believe in it because it is superstition. Nothing is superstition. Because there are two kinds of existence in this world. One is sukshma and other is stula. Something is pratyaksha and other is apratyakša. Pratyaksham alpam analpam apratyaksham. That things which are visible are less, and what is not visible are more. Because every object, every material object in this world created from some subtle force. Any subtle force is the beginning is kind of energy. From the energy field, a substance, a anu or paramanu is formed. From the paramanu, then gradually a bhuta is formed. So a material form is kind of energy in the beginning. So in a material, there is a kind of energy. So there is an energy field in all of us. And that energy field is what you are, not the physical or the innate this physical body or Jada Sharira is not what we are. So Ayurveda is much more than a medicine. Ayurveda is much more than a dosha. There are many other things, the energy that level that we are attaining. And most of the diseases are cured in that way. Even that energy and power and potentiality are there in our medicines also, that many medicines have. Even wearing a gem is good, that protects you in a variety of ways. And everything is connected in this world, inside and outside. You have the influence of the planets, you have the influence of the stars, you have the influence of sun, you have the influence of air. Everything is connected. The whole thing is there in the human body. That's what we believe. So a human body is a miniature of the universe. So like that, what I wanted to tell you is that we should look at this particular disease in two different ways. One is that this is a kind of jwara. And this jwara has many different symptoms, appearing in different forms. And this is a type of agantuka jwara, which is, in the beginning, it is kind of toxicity. And that toxic effect is coming into your system. And there is particular kind of bhuta behind it, which is called bhujangama. Explain it. So the basic cause is something else. And after that, there is a kind of pollution that takes place. There is a kind of pollution. And after that, in the system, it is kind of pollution. So it is going through different levels and different kinds of changes or transformations to get into a kind of state. In another point that, according to Sushruta, it is Abhishangata Jwara. And this Abhishangata Jwara is Bhutabhishanga. He very clearly says that Bhutabhishanga. There is kind of infection or paramanu, small anu, subtle entity that is entering into the system and causing jwara. So from this, it is very clear that this kind of bhutas are not only in Manasika Roga, it's also there in the Shaरीrika Roga. In Masurika it is there, even in Kshaya it is there. Kshaya, there is one kind of Kshaya which is Sneha Kshaya or Shukra Kshaya. that causing graduation. In that case, in that kind of Shuprakshaya, you know that there is a kind of disease today which is AIDS that is spreading from person to person. It doesn't mean that all kinds of Chaya is infectious. No, some kind is infectious. So when the infection comes, there is a kind of bacteria or virus that happens. So there is some kind of Bhura in it, and that Bhura is not what we are now imagining. It's totally a different thing. That's Sapa the body. There is body of crores and millions of such Bhutas, this kind of Bhutas in the atmosphere. And these Bhutas, some of them are protecting you, some of them are destroying. So when you are in an unhygienic, unhealthy, and negative conditions, these destructive Bhutas get a chance to enter into and destroy. On the other hand, there are many other things that the Bhutas that are positive and helping you to maintain health and life and making things good. So you are in an environment where there are positive and negative reactions. So this will have an influence in your system, and accordingly the things are happening. So, can we have a break and start it? Okay, let us now go to the Ayurvedic approach in these diseases. I told you earlier that we have many possibilities. We have many different types of medicines and treatment methods that can apply in this condition, not only in this disease, any new disease is not a threat or a challenge to Ayurveda. Because Ayurveda has a way to approach any kind of disease, even without knowing the name of the disease, that you would be able to attend it. So, here, that there are two conditions. Basically, one is the mild infection, mild attack, and the other is the severe attack. So when you look at the Jara, there are many different symptoms according to the dhatus. Sushruta very clearly says the dhatu gata vikaras in Jara. So this lakshanas or the symptoms appearing in a condition when the dosha is in the stomach, the amasya, and from amasya to rasatha, it is spreading. You will have the lakshanas which are mild. But once it is passing into the rasatha, then there are specific symptoms of vitiation in the rasatha, like the direkta, mamsatha. So Sushruta explains the conditions or the symptoms that appearing in each and every dhatu separate. Such kind of detailed explanation you cannot find in any other scriptures on Jara. So I believe that if it is very mild and just in the stomach or in the rest of dhatu, you will have the mild symptoms like fever, loss of appetite, fatigue, sore throat, loss of smell, short breath, cough, muscle aching, nausea, headache, diarrhea. So it need not that all these symptoms to appear. Some of them will be there, some of them may not be there. So depending on that, you should have a different approach. So see, when it is in the rest dhatu, Guruda Hridayolklesha Sadanam Chakyarochakau Rasasthedujara Lingam Dainyam Cha Asya Upajayate. Guruda, heaviness. Hridayolklesha, Ulklesha in the Hridaya and the chest. Sadanam, fatigue. Chakti, and vomit, nausea. Arovachaka, no appetite. Then Dainya, that weakness and low energy. So these are the symptoms appearing in the Rasatha. So most of the things are coming into the lakshanas or the symptoms of the mild attack. So in that case, we should consider that the doshas are more into the Rasatha. But see that Rakta has a prominent role in it. Because once the infection is coming into the body, mostly it is through the air. So through the breathing, that's Vayu is involved. And once it is entered into the body and starts spreading, then Rakta has a prominent role. Then through the blood stream that's reaching everywhere. So two things are very important in it. That one is the Vayu or the breathing, the air. The other is Rakta. So in between there is one that is Rasatha. So when the Rasatha is really affected, then you have these lakshanas of Gurutva, Hridayolklesha, etc. They are the mild manifestation. And once it is gone into the Rakta, the blood, then you have these lakshanas. Raktanisthivana, which is already said there in the severe attack, like coughing of blood. Then daha, the burning sensation. Sweda, sweating. Chardana, chardana is common in both vomiting. Vibhrama. So you have the walking difficulty and confusion and things like that in the severe attack. Then pralapa, it's speaking. Pidaga, Krishna, thirst. So, Rakta Prapte Jare. These are the symptoms appearing in the Jara when it is in the Rakta. So, most of these things are coming into the severe attack. And also for each and every body, it is mentioned that this kind of symptoms will appear. So, there are certain conditions in which you get death, and so that is kind of Sannipada Jara. In Sannipada Jara, sometimes some of your organs or some of the limbs are get affected and permanently get some kind of problem like mobility or something. The Sannipada Jara, once it coming in, then it destroys some parts of the body and go. Maybe the brain sometimes, or the ear, or any other organ. It is set in such a way. So I feel like the symptoms. You need not consider each symptom as separate disease or separate kind of sickness. Because Jara is the primary disease which consists of all kinds of sickness, all kinds of symptoms. There is another disease which is similar to that is Rajeshwan. In Rajeshwan also there are many different symptoms. That's why it is called Rajeshwan, Shwana and Raja. So there are many behind it, like many diseases behind Yashwan. That is why it is called a Raja of Yashwan, of disease. So like that, you need not consider this, because the main thing that you feel or experience in a person is fever. So depending on what type of fever, that I told, there are two possibilities. One is the Vishavayu genital, that is due to the toxic effect of the air. The other thing is that the influence of kind of Badha. So there are two things. So in the case of Anubhava, that you need the Deva Vyavasaya Chikitsa also for removing those kind of things from the body. That distancing of all kinds of negative impulses or negative impact. And also medicine allopathy. So there are two different approaches. And see, there is in some cases there is kidney failure that's happening, and loss of speech is there, and even the decreased white blood cells and persistent chest pain, and all these might cause some other problems. Like once this decreased blood cells are there or kidney affected, then you need to consider in a different way and attend this not as a jura. Jura is already there, but you need to attend in a different way. That also consider it as Pandu and give the treatment of Pandu. And once the Pandu and Jura together treated, then that is a proper approach. So, see, even in, I told you that Sankramika Rogas like Masurika and Sheetalika. Masurika, the smallpox. That's a physical disease, of course. Sheetalika is also physical disease. But see, there is some kind of influence of that Buddha. As you know, these two diseases are manifesting on either Tuesdays or Fridays. And also, you connect this to the goddess Shakti and some kind of influence of the Grahas or the Buddhas. So, even in physical diseases, this is what I explained earlier. So, we need not consider this as virus, but there are some influence of the environment in a very sukshma, in a subtle form that really affecting and entering into the system and doing the current. So in a kind of that Vushavishthani Sparsha, due to the poisonous effect or toxic effect, Chikitsa Vishagdhneva Sa Samshamanam Lepeda Nara. Vishagdhneva Chikitsa, Vishahara Chikitsa. So that should be the approach. So what would be that? Do we have any medicine like that? We have to think and we have to find out something that is Vishakna in it. See, there is one kind of I found that one kashayam is very interesting. That it is Vishahara. Pathyakat Phalanagaram Budavaja, Bhunimba Dhanyadrumai, Bhargi Patpadaganide, Sravamidam Toyam Suchitam Puna. Madhvajyam Paramanu Ramataitam, Shleshmajuram Masi, Shosthati, Susana, Agnisada, Kasana, Ayuji, Asisusha. That is one kashayam. See, this is very simple. This is there in the Sahasra Yuga. Shleshmajuram Masiyet, the Parasviti. Shleshmajura is Kapajura. So I told you earlier we have to look at the entire thing as Veda that increase in the body. That's why you're getting infected. Kosthati, the pain of ache in the koshtha, in the stomach. Shwasana, Shwasaparasam, the breathlessness. Agnisada, Agnimandya, indigestion. Kasana, Kasa, the coughing. Agnisada, Kasana, Aruchi. Aruchi is the appetite. You lose appetite. Asisosha, sort out. See, this particular Kashayam, you find almost all the symptoms that generally appear. So this is one of the best, I would say, that we can select. The idea is this can be given in all conditions as a medicine for prevention, as a medicine to prevent. Then in a mild condition also it is good, and also in a severe. So this can be applied in any condition of this disease because it covers most in the parasite, it covers most of the symptoms. Then another one is Darunagara Bhunimba Dhanyavasa Kalingare Gajatwa Dashamula Abdei. Rus is interesting. Mrityu Kalpam Jaram Hare. This is a particular Kashaya, again from Sankramika Roga. The interesting thing is Mrityu Kalpam Jaram Hare. It cures the Jara, which is Mrityu Kalpam. That brings death. So this is one of the best, I would say. And see, in this condition like this, you have many different techniques and the treatment procedures like Samana, Shodhana, and all. But the best thing is I did this Samana in this procedure, that's all. But certain kinds of things that you can give, like Nasya is good. Anjana is very, very powerful. There are different types of Anjana. Because Netra, the eye, is very sensitive organ and through which the infection easily getting into the body. And even you see that in Ayurveda Roga, Netrabhishyanda is one. Netrabhishyanda evacha. Only few diseases are mentioned there. Jaram is there, Jarat is there, and Rajyashma is there, Netrabhishyanda is there, Kushtham is there. So like that, a few diseases are mentioned, plus Aupasargya. So Aupasargya is not a single disease like Kushtha or Rajyashma. Aupasargya is a category which includes many different kinds of disease. So it is a kind of, it's a category, a particular category that physical diseases and also mental diseases. So Ayurveda Roga, it is something that way. So only few diseases are mentioned there in the shloka, but it covers many, many different diseases. So this is a condition that you can easily treat with these two kashayams, which I always recommend in any condition of it. So in Vishatva, there is one kashaya which is Brahmi Kashaya. Brahmi Drakshadi Kashayam is there, again it is in the Sahasra Yuga. And Brahmi Drakshadi is Vedahara, it is Vishahara, it is Jwarahara, and it is also Medhya. So in a Visha condition, Brahmi Drakshadi is really good. Then there is Amradotana Kashayam is there, that everybody knows, but when I say Amradotana, people don't feel it or think that it is something great because all of us using it every day, in every disease, in every kind of jara. But Amradotana is very, very important. Amradotana can be given in any condition of jara. Amrita, Haripati, and sugar, that is ginger, that is there. So these three things are there. And the same kind of medicine is good in a Visha condition, where instead of Amrita, you have Kalasaka, that is Kalasaka. In Kalasaka Kashayam, the Kalasaka itself is Visha. That is the significance of it. So it has Vishakaritvam at the same time, and also correct all our system, the stomach and everything, and also it clear the bowels, good for all conditions. So like that we have the different kinds of things. Then Brahmi then Kalasakadi Kashayam, then Anjanam. See, we have to treat it depending on the conditions I told you earlier. Guluchari is good. But Guluchari, suppose a person is constipated, and when you recommend this Guluchari Kashayam, then it won't be a proper medicine because it won't induce bowel movements. So once you are constipated and taking this Guluchari, it will not induce the bowel movement, so it is not recommended. In that case, you have the other choices like Amarotha. But if you have a loose bowels, of course, you can have that Indugandha, Guluchari, or Pathanamrita, like that, various combinations. So there is no point in just going through this medicine because you have a lot of selections. You have a lot of choices there. That how to choose, that is the problem. So there is no point in selecting one or two medicines and just giving it. Other interesting thing is that Shadangam. Shadangam is very common and Kanajandana Shumkembu Parpadochi Resata. But the Shadangam can be modified in any form depending on the symptoms appear. Like, see, if you add Chandana with Shadanga, then it is good in white cell diseases and also in a Raktapitta or where there is a bleeding or something like that. Shadanga plus the eighth one, Chandana. Similarly, when there is an Adhisara, then we can use Musta along with Shadanga. So where there is Dahamoha, that is lot of inflammation and burning sensation in the system, then Ushira and Triveda is at the best to add with. Then when there is Chardi or vomiting as a symptom, then Shadanga plus Vilva and Dhanyaka can be used. And suppose you feel like this is due to Vesha and a poisonous substance is there in the system, then the best is add Ankola with Shadanga. Then when there is a Pitajura, then Parparaga will be good. And where there is a Chaya, like a depletion of dhatus, then we need to use Bala along with Shadanga. So same Shadanga can be applied and same Shadanga can be used in different ways in different conditions depending on the symptoms. It is very interesting that we got that freedom and flexibility in giving treatment. And this is the yukti actually, that yukti you need. So we cannot make a protocol like that without having a yukti that this medicine is proved so that we can give this. And this medicine is not proved, so we cannot give this. That's not the idea actually, because that's not the way that Ayurveda is working. Certain things are working. Then you can try and find out how this is working if you need actually to prove it scientifically and need more evidences. Because people today are asking for evidence. We don't want emotions, we want evidence. But everybody is asking for some kind of evidence. Otherwise, not sure of whether it is working or not. This is an issue. So even if that disease is completely clear, people asking, or the patients asking, also the doctors, scientific community is asking that to go for again a test and find out all the readings are fine. See, so in that condition, how can we prove that this medicine is good? When it is a formula like Patcha, Shadangam, Patcha, Katkaladikashayam. How can you prove that? Even a slight change, like if I am adding Chandana in the Shadanga, it's different. It's Shadanga, but Chandana is. If you add Musta along with Shadanga, two different yogas are there now. Because Sadanga is always there, but when you add Chandana and when you add Musta, acting different. So each one has a different action. So particular formula, that you are using, and that particular formula you can make a lot of changes in it. Accordingly, you can use it because it's not single medicine. Tripla is very good. Tripla is the science. Tripla Savarugandini. I'm using Tripla in almost all cases that because Savarugandini is for all kinds of diseases. Because we are very familiar with Tripla, we are not much using it. We are looking for something new always, but there is not something new in it. Whatever is good, whatever is appropriate to that particular condition, that is a matter. If water is good for that, take over. So when you are thirsty, you need to drink. When you are hungry, you need to eat food. That time is not the medicine that appropriate there. There is no point in taking a Haridani when you are hungry. When you are hungry, there is no point of eating something. When you are thirsty, there is no point of eating something. You have to drink water. So like that, whatever is required, whatever is appropriate at the moment, that is the treatment. If the dhuma is good, then you have to do the dhuma. There are several kinds of dhuma in this treatment. Dhuma, that is with sarshara, vaja, yashtima, leshuna, karpura, chandana, like that, devadara. There are so many things that you have to fumigate that distancing, all kinds of violation So, so with Shadanga itself, that we can make many different combinations. So it is not single medicine. See, I told you only few examples, which are, see, there are 6 different varieties of, 7, 8 varieties of that Shadanga itself. And Pathyakat Khala is one, Amrudopara is one, Indugama is one, Padanavara is one, and also that Kalasaka is like that number of medicines. But this is not practical. You have to, for COVID, you have to make another, in that case, that you have to make another therapeutic index. And you have to carry all medicine. You need a big pharmacy for that. This is not practical at the moment to reach the. That's why I said that I felt 2-3 medicines that very good. One is the Pathyagat plasma, no doubt, because almost all symptoms are covered in it. The other one is Mrittikalpam Juram. Mrittikalpa. You are near to the death, you will be saved from it. That is what all of us wanted. So if it is such a highly pathology medicine, why can't we use that instead of going for many other things? So these 2 can be used at any moment, at any condition of the disease. We need medicine for it. We have it. So we have to explore and find out what are things like that available instead of getting a big pharmacy for COVID-19 or many combination of medicines. It is possible, I am here. It is possible. Certain conditions it is possible. Certain conditions it is not. That is there. That's normally there. But if it is covering most of the symptoms, that it's a common medicine for that. That is no doubt. Okay. So when there is a blood cell decrease like that, white cell decrease, you have the codes of Drakshari, Vashari, Dadivan, taking. So depending on that symptoms, and if you see the lakshanas of Pandu, then you need to give the medicines of Pandu. If you find the lakshanas of Rajeshma, then you need to do the treatment of Rajeshma. Punarnava Balacharya, Sthira, Ushrehi, Jivan Jayata Shubham Toyan, Pushtigal Shayanasana. And that Pushtigal Shayanasana, that particular Punarnava Balakashayam included. So in some conditions, it is said that the Rajeshma symptoms are there, and your depletion of dhatus will be there, and you will have kind of energy that is lost. So you can use medicines like that. See. So in some cases, see, when you consider the whole thing, that there are a lot of people, like thousands of millions, lakhs of people died, and millions of people got affected. But when you consider the proportion of that during the last 6 months, that death rate is comparatively less compared to the people who are infected. So In sometimes this is most upasargya vyadhis are anubandha. Anubandha. Because this kind of infection easily occurs in a person who already is sick with some other issues, like having a kidney problem or having cancer. This would easily enter into the system and damage it. So otherwise, if you're healthy, it won't damage so quickly. Yeah, Abhasargika means it is like a shade. Even the Bhudavesa, it is a shade. That when you look at the mirror, your face is not there, but there is an influence of that and reflection of that. Similarly, that there is the shade of that, the influence of that. The sun is there, you get the rays of the sun, you feel hot in the summer because there is an influence that the sun is not entering, but you have the influence, the shading of that. Like that, these things are shading, and this is in the beginning. These things are not really showing or manifesting any of the symptoms. Later, once it's established in the system, then it becomes prominent on overpower or other and become the primary. So in the beginning, it is anubandha. And then when there is an Anubandha Roga, this becomes Anubandha. There is something additional or getting associated with it. But once it is entered and started manifesting, then it becomes very strong. And that becomes the main Vyadhi. So in that case, you have the Anubandha Vyadhi and Anubandhi Vyadhi both together, which would cause very serious problems like that. So most of the people dying not only with that, people dying with that of course, but even there are people who are sick already. That's why most people die very quickly. And so once you are sick in that way, that in Jura, the treatment should be basically that Amapachana and Vidipana like that. So there is no chance for a kind of shodhana in the beginning. And other thing that you get weak and you get fatigued. So apatarpana treatment or dosha shodhana is an instantaneous removal of doshas, not practically. So in that case, you need a treatment for the nourishment. So you cannot get a dhatu pushti unless the jura is cured and amapatana is done. So in that way, a treatment procedure of shamana, according to the condition that is most matter. So these are the things I feel about it. And yeah, there are many other things also which we don't know because this is something new to us. This is even I haven't seen a patient who is having this. There are many people called me and asked about it. So this is all my inference or my understanding after listening to what is happening and what is happening to the patients or what is happening in this world. So I was curious to know about it and realized these are the things and try to correlate with Ayurveda. I don't believe that it's 100% what I'm telling is perfect. Once I see the patient treated, of course, I can confidently say that right, this is the treatment, this is the but once I haven't seen that sometimes it is rubbish to say something, some nonsense, but I don't know. But what I felt, this is just sharing my news, not pushing you or pressurizing something that this should be the way, this is the treatment. This is something that one can imagine. There are many within it and also the references. So whatever I explain to you is based on the references because I have already gone through the book scriptures and realized many things from it. So this is my point of view or my perception into the Shastra. And another person can do it in a different way. Definitely yes. So what I wanted to convince you is that there is treatment. Ayurveda, if you don't know that, doesn't mean that it has no treatment. That is true. Even I don't know many things I don't know, but there is treatment. So it is our fault or not the question of Ayurveda because Ayurveda everything. That's why it's a matter. So So it's a time-tested shastra, and this kind of disease also we can, because we're not familiar with this disease, and this is something new, but we able to tackle that. So let us see, and if time permits, and if we get a chance to do that, we can prove that efficacy of Ayurveda, and for which that we are always trying this. Authorities like Ayush and WHO all are cooperating and doing a lot of good things and positive things in it. And we need to explore more into it and find out how Ayurveda can help it. It's a wonderful science. It will help everybody. And for me, this is the word that should.
So that you explained the treatment as a doshadhisthana treatment. That is an individual approach. So a person who is affected with the COVID-19 can be treated according to your treatment protocol. And I'm very thank you for that insight.
Mm-hmm.
And what is the idea of a community health in Ayurveda? Like the treatment, the disease actually comes from the environment. So
Yeah.
there should be a community health perspective also.
Yes.
So what can be that through Ayurveda?
See, it's not through Ayurveda. You can be healthy. You can keep your body fit. You can follow all the areas in life, and can have a comfortable life. But suppose a spontaneous that outbreak, like a flood is coming, a tsunami is coming. What's the point of being healthy? Even a healthy person also will be gone and washed away and killed. So what's happening that when there's a landslide or a tsunami, and also there's a gas leakage in Neyveli, and when all this happening, what we can do? We cannot do anything, because this is the nature's call, and nature decides what it is. So in that case, not Ayurveda, not allopathy, no system can. It's only something that is just happening. So see that tsunami, lot of people died. So this is a kind of Janavadottamsana. So this Janavadottamsana can have in a simple way, like that, just a sickness like that. Or it could be a devastating situation of washing away something, everything. So in that case, that when a complete destruction is happening, we can't help. Ayurveda clearly said that such a situation is happening due to your karma, your prajnavarata. This prajnavarata is the reason for that, and tasya moolam adharma. So in the case of Sankramika Roga, also that adharma. Jara, or that Adhidaivika Jara, that is again adharma. And even in a Bhutavesha, that is adharma. So that is behind it. So it depends upon how much intense your karmas and adharma is. So it is very clearly said, so if total devastation is happening due to a complete destruction, a spontaneous outbreak, then you can't help. But in a kind of this thing, that in a normal condition you can be healthy, as I explained earlier, that you have the Sabdutta and you have the that Swasthavutta that we need to follow. I told that the environment is best suited to the Ayurvedic lifestyle. So once you introduce that in your life, about the first thing is hygiene, the cleanliness. So Shraddha very clearly mentioned, if you are clean, then nothing happens. And also if you try to distance of the evils with sound, so it is kind of thing that Shabda Rosha, by which that spirits are not affecting you or any anubhava is happening. So it is said also in this that the snakes won't bite you. If you walk making sound with a stick, then snakes won't bite. It is like that. So that's kind of distancing. Distancing, you make a sound and that distancing there. And there is one kind of bhuta, that is Bhujangama. And that Bhujangama has many of its representatives that enter into the system and producing the Visha kind of thing in your system. Even the food poisoning is that. Even the food poisoning. That you cannot ignore that. Food poisoning is not poison, but there is a Bhujangama that is behind it. So it happening as stale food because you are unclean. And there is a smoke because you are unclean. So this kind of pollution, if there is a factory like it's emitting a lot of smoke all the time, and totally this atmosphere is smoky, then you are breathing that. Why it's happening? Because of Pratnyaprat. You know that it is smoky, you know that it is not good for health, but repeatedly you are doing it. So that is due to Pratnyaprat. You know, but you are doing Pratnyaprat. So you have to get the result. That's happening in the system. So one thing that instead of killing the virus or anything, that we can protect first by keeping the environment clean and also with personal hygiene. Social hygiene and personal hygiene. These are the two things. So that is a living condition most important. But this is not happening in a society. That if you live individually good and hygienic, but other people around you, they are not. All dirty things are there on the road. Nothing is clean. But the thing is that this bacteria and other kinds of things, that they are more easily grow into a kleda situation. That's why I think that in the Western countries, the cold countries, that this is widely spreading. Suppose a dog dies here, next day there is no smell, no, completely it's dried. But if it is happening in a cold area, then this bacteria and infections and the smell, everything will be there for 1 month. So this influence of the planets, influence of the sun, the moon, and everything is associated and connected to your health, because you have to see everything in totality. You are not an individual separate from anything. You are in totality. And also in diagnosing the disease and giving treatment, you have to see this person in totality. So that should be the approach. And this becomes very clear to you from Charaka Samhita and Sushruta, that an individual's existence in totality. So when you consider this, that environment is, so that is what in the society we can do, as others are doing. We can also prevent it by doing all kinds of things like that, with making sounds and distancing by doing kind of homa and prayashita, things like that, and mantra, and lamp, so many other things. Okay.
So that you have explained about the homa, mantra and all. So can you please explain, if possible, which all homas or in what type of...
That Gayatri mantra is the best. Sushruta himself said that. Gayatri with Pranava, with Omkara, that will be very effective in such a condition.
Okay.
But you yourself can do it. There is no need of any home or 1 lakh times Gayatri mantra, say Sushruta.
Okay, sir. Sir, one more question is like, so while explaining the Bhuta Vesha, in the literatures, there is a term of Chidra, which is the entrance of these Bhutas. So what can be the Chidra? Is it the like unhealthy living style, or...
Chidras are the offices through which it enters.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the eyes, nose. That's why I told you that Anjana is one of the best treatment in it. Because the very sensitive part that easily things can enter, even the poison, you know. That there are certain kinds of poison in the forest, like big spiders are there. these spiders, if you look at the spider, you get poison. It need not come and touch with you or make contact or on the body touch. You just see it in the distance. If you see them, you get poison. And some other that sees you, you get poison. See? So this kind of things are, so it's very sensitive, that eyes through which such kind of infection could happen. No? Yeah. Any tell me.
So this anjana should be something that clears the channels, like like Grasanjana, which has been explained in the Dinacharya.
There are big list of anjanas in Sushruta.
Okay.
List of anjanas are there, that is there in the chapter of Upanishad.
Okay, sir.
So, yeah,
Thank you, sir.
One or two, there are so many. And so through the offices that there is a shloka. Adushayanda Purushasya Deham Uladaya Susuguna Prokavaihi Vishanja Drishyas Tarasaya Thaiva Chayatavo Darpana Suryakantam. Adushayanda Purushasya Deham. It won't disturb your body in the beginning. Adushayanda Purushasya Deham. So it is just try to enter inside first. And there won't be any disturbance in your body. No dosha. Nothing happens. You are a healthy person, but this Bhudadaya Swasaguna Prabhavaihi. There are infinite number of Buddhas. Though there are 8 mentioned, they have many assistants to or representatives that are acting. So there are infinite number of Buddhas. And according to this condition that Buddha enters through the office, through the different offices, like eyes, nose, ears. So the most sensitive is eye, that's why Anjana mentioned. And then they take hold of you, that enters in the body. And most of the Unmada and Manasika Rogas, they catch hold of your hridaya or the chest area. And this is a sthana of manas. So when the mind is held, then you get Manasika Roga. When it goes into the blood, only such kind of Buddhas entering into the blood. And then you get the diseases related to it, like Kushta. You know? So once it is entering into the entire system, like the dhatus through the respiratory, then you get a radiation. Like that, word localized and word, what type of Buddha is entering into the system. The same Buddhas, that Buddha itself, it's a very confusing thing actually. Most people are not clear about what is Buddha. We just think that Buddha is something a superstition. So we don't touch that part of it. It gives a lot of information to us. It's really teaching you what Ayurveda is. No? So Buddha is any minute particle that can act in your system and do something harm to you and enter inside and overpower you and start independently functioning. So you will have the Swabhava, your character that look different, and your chesta look different, and you are not that person. The total change of the personality in something that will happen. So this enters this Buddha is entering to the office and get hold of some areas in the body and start acting accordingly, so that you get the disease also accordingly. So what you have to do is that with the homa and everything, that you create a positive kind of vibration in the system and also in the environment. So once the environment is clean with that, your body is also getting clean. No? So this is kind of cleansing process, because the whole thing is happening because you are unclean. So you can clean it. Cleaning is not always panchakarma. That is one set of cleaning. You know? That is one set of cleaning. But there is even thoughts make you clean. I know some cancer patients just state and they live long just because of their mind. They just think of their mindset. That's most important. You can be healthy with the mindset. Because Raga, the Roga is Raga. So if your mind is strong, then even physical ailments will not happen. So your Sankalpa Shakti, that is most important. So once you have the Sankalpa Shakti, if you have a fear, it is easy for anything to happen in the body, that even the virus can enter inside the body, very easily harm you. And your diseases will aggravate when you are mentally not strong enough. So the Ayurveda teaches you in such a way that you are not a single entity. You are associated with many things, and you are part of everything that you survive, and you get tuned with that. That's the idea. See, so if you are tuning with the bad, then virus enter. If you tune with the good, then virus goes away. So through the offices normally they enter. Dushayanti Purushasya Devam Bhutadaya Swasya Guna Prabhavai. Each one has its guna and prabhava. Vishamya Drishyaha. The entry is adrishya. It's an invisible entry. You cannot see it. Tarasaya Theva. Immediately it happens that quickly they enter and start working. Chayadavo Darpana Suryakanto. It's a very interesting example of simile. Chayadavo Darshana Suryakanto. See, it's only a chaya. It is said that no bhuta or no graha can enter in your system. There are 8 types of bhutas. These bhutas never coming into your system. Only the prashyaha or parijaragaye, the subordinates of the bhutas in the very small and subtle form that can just enter through the orifices which are invisible. They are not microscopic. Even the virus is not microscopic. When it is not microscopic, when you want the evidence-based for everything and pratyaksha as the truth for everything, I don't know how this can be diagnosed. Everything we want the evidences. So this is something that you cannot see. And you believe it is there. It is similar to Ayurvedic principle. Yeah.
Sir, I have got a small query. Actually, it is 2 questions. The first question is whether you are thinking like the pandemic which is going on, like COVID-19, can be prevented before it's starting in Wuhan itself. Is there any chance which we are, what we are doing wrong in that case to start up with this type of a pandemic in this situation? That's the first question. And the second question is, see that there are different countries which has been level irrespective of their climatic, environmental condition, or the forest area, or anything actually. We can say that it's a pandemic which is affecting all the world. So what's the difference you are feeling? Even the symptoms are also very much similar in different countries.
In olden
so
days,
what do you feel like it can cause in different places?
In olden days, they had a practice among the rival kings, emperors. And they produce some kind of poison. And that's spreading into the air, in the atmosphere, and also in the water to destroy and kill the rival kings and the people. They had practices like that. That at any time, in olden days, even today, that you can make it, that kind of poisoning that in the atmosphere and also in the water or anything that around. So if you are doing it deliberately, then it happens. If you don't do it deliberately, there must be some cause for that. But we cannot think about that unless it happened, Nobody has ever thought about it, that something would happen like this. It just happened after that we come to know about it. I came to know that after 1 month that it is so serious and severe. So far I was not able to know what it is. Some people say that this is kind of virus. When a patient came there for treatment, she was from China. Even that time I was not aware of this disease. Srija was telling me something that there is kind of COVID. Even I was not knowing very much about that. So if it is not without our knowledge and just something happened. It's accidentally, then we cannot help in that case. But there are certain other things which can be prevented, that if it is human made. It's a kind of wrong thing. And that kind of practice was ever there before. That like poisoning the atmosphere and also the poisoning the water and getting people affected and kill the people. So this is due to the rivalry that. So I don't know how this is happening. It's just happened incidentally or not. If it is like that, we were not prepared for that. If I beat you, if you are prepared, then you can defend you. If you are not prepared, you have to take it. No? So like that, if we are prepared, we know that, of course, we can take the precaution for that. If you don't know, you cannot take the precaution for that.
I think no more questions there. Sir, it was a nice session which we have done, and we are very thankful for this session and the class. And it was very interesting to see a different approach on the COVID-19, because most of the time you will not be seeing that the environmental factor as one of the main factors which is causing this disease itself. Even though people will be thinking in their thoughts like something is happening from the environmental side, but we are not clear about what all things are present in that stream. And it is very nice to hear about that. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you wholeheartedly from AVP team.
We should be open to Ayurveda 100%. Then only we will be able to get these ideas and apply it in a better way. Because there are many different aspects in it. There are many different aspects. There are some spiritual aspects in it. There are subtle aspects, the gross aspects, and a lot of yukti, the imaginations. So, like that, idam agama siddhatvat. So we have to have the faith in and ready to apply in the right sense, so that we will be able to. So you got the freedom to go into the depth of it once you are open to it. So in that case, you explore more into the possibilities of Ayurveda. So what I think that we should practice it. Ayurveda is Ayurveda. Because once you have a mask, when you have a mask on your face and look at the sun, then you don't see the sun. If it is cloudy, you see, you don't see the sun properly because it is cloudy. So remove the clouds and try to look at it. So we should not keep the mask first and look at Ayurveda, because we have a kind of impression about it and some kind of newly created impressions about Ayurveda, and putting a mask of something and look at it. So it's not clear, like you're looking at the sun. So that's what I am insisting, that we should have the 100% trust in what the scriptures say. If you do not understand what the scriptures say, leave it. Leave it at the moment. But you should try to understand it, or later you would really understand. Because this is my experience. In most cases, what we could not understand in the beginning, that becomes clear after some time. So like that, those things are there, and sometimes the explanation, you feel like it is a vague explanation. So it's not clear for you. So to make it clear, we have the different levels of scriptures. Because probably in the Sushruta or Charga, you may not be able to grasp the idea of it because it is so intense. It's a learned man, a scholar like one who is well versed in darshanas to directly or openly go into it and get the depth of it. But there are other scriptures like that's why Ashtanga Hridaya is made by Vakuddhana to make it easier for everybody. It is very much confined to the treatment rather than finding a person in totality and giving a treatment. So practical treatment. So like that. So depending on the intellectual level and depending on the understanding, we have the different types of scripture. So if you do not understand from one scripture, which is too much for you, there are other scriptures also. You go into that and look it, and find out what it is. Okay? So every scripture is not for everybody. Some scripture is for somebody. Like that, there is no point in looking at the Vedas for Ayurveda because it is too much. So like that. So then there are a lot of questions. This is the right time that we should start acting in this. We should not make a framework first, that in an allopathic framework, that don't try to see that everything. That is why I said that it is, then it is cloudy. Your knowledge is not complete anymore. You are looking, but you won't see. So I'm not against any system of medicine, and you need sometimes that, of course. But when you practice it as it is, because you are an Ayurvedic Vaidya, and you need to practice it as it is. You can interpret. I can interpret. I am not well versed in the modern system of medicine, but I think I can understand it. It's not by learning modern medicine, but learning Ayurveda. So Ayurveda even gives you the information and understanding because you are looking at Ayurvedic perspective and you have an approach to modern medicine in that field and it becomes very clear. See, if you know something, it is much easier to know the other. If you don't know both, then you are in one like this and one like that. So nothing would happen. Make sure that Ayurveda is. Try to learn it and go deep into that and try to practice. Ayurveda won't cheat you. It's sure that once you believe in it, it won't. That will definitely help you. So just do like that. And this is a people, if you have some people, like few number of people, then definitely we can get success and we become very competent in that. Now, nobody can beat us because we have the way to identify all kinds of things. It's not, it's that now the treatment, the accuracy is not coming. That's a problem today. And we have a choice of medicines, but accuracy is not. Here the problem is the diagnosis. You fail in the diagnosis because we don't know the accuracy in which thought the dosha copies in which thought. So we fail to give the accurate or right medicine. So the accuracy is not. So on a random selection, we choose this or that, or depending on the availability that we choose this or that, and make different combinations. That won't be suitable. So the diagnosis is not properly proper. The reason is the study of the Sharira. That's not it. The Ayurvedic Sharira, that is the functional Sharira, the changing Sharira, the transforming or evolving body conditions. That is the Ayurvedic Sharira. Today's body is not there tomorrow. That Ayurveda believes. Something different. Today your body is, tomorrow your body is something different. So that functionally, that what you call changing existence, that you would learn from Sharira, then you would be able to understand the changing existence of diseases also. And primarily the study of Sharira. Then Nidana. So these three things are very much missing in our practice. Other thing I would say that the Nidana and Chikitsa are separate. Nidana, Chikitsa and Dravya. These three things should be together. Because in our scripture they are together. We made a separation. Nidana separate, Chikitsa separate, and Dravya separate. You don't know how to combine and connect. This is clear. That's why we are not getting the accuracy. The accuracy is possible. That's what I say. It is very much possible. Then we can do better. Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for these advices, and we'll take it as serious. And for our further life, it will be a great advice. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you all.
Namaste, sir.
Thank you, sir.